Hello, everybody. I hope you're well. This week, I'd like to share some research on multiple choice questioning. So, what I'd like to go through is share some examples with you, share some research tips, and show some blank templates and how to download the resource. So, just for clarity, if you're not familiar with multiple choice question, there are a simple, effective way for teachers to deliver low stakes assessments. So quizzing, think retrieval practice in class. They're fantastic for identifying and addressing misconceptions. That they do require careful planning, and there's lots of online software now for teachers to do it automatically. But I wonder, when you look at these online pieces of software, particularly when they produce the multiple choice questioning, particularly ChatGPT AI, so artificial intelligence, that you look carefully to see if the questions are posing desirable difficulty. So remember, to improve recall in your students, teachers must think about retrieval, so storage strength. So retrieval, storage strength. So this is entrenched memory, and also retrieval strength. So this is the activation memory. So what I've got for you here on the slides is I've got a little kind of walkthrough here that I'd like to go through with you step by step. Now, in the resource download, you can get all this, and there's a bit more detail behind the scenes. But first of all, you need to consider the format of how the multiple choice question is designed. Obviously, there's got lots of online software to consider. You need to consider the alternative questions. So you need to avoid grossly unrelated alternatives, desirable difficulty. Make the choices harder to eliminate if you want to increase storage strength. Think about the length and content of the quizzes. It's worth checking what's automated. Think about the length of the answers also. Think about the patterns. So the length of the multiple choice questions often signal correctness. So a correct choice may often contains repetitive words. So think carefully about what's being produced or whether you're designing it yourself. Think about the number of choices. Be aware of inclusionary language. So, the words like always or never. Often, if there's 2 or 4 choices, think where the answers are going to be placed also. Excuse me. Think about the questions, the negative questions. So, for example, a double negative, or pay attention to grammatical uses is often another tip worth considering. Think about questioning types. So what, why, how questions. The correct choice often is one that's sometimes placed in the middle value. So there's lots of research of reference in here. STEM questions, and also increase in the difficulty. So you might want to think about interleaving practice in your quizzes. So if you might have a really difficult question that might put off students, then introduce a really easy question, obviously desirably difficult, to allow more students to be successful. Then that gives them that little dopamine hit and re-engages them with the quiz. And then the final thing to consider is the answers themselves. So, working in chunks, thinking about students' cognitive load, and so on and so forth. So inside, I've got some examples for you here. So here's a design technology question for year 7 students. So on one side of the slide here, you've got a desirably difficult question. So one that's harder to eliminate and requires prior knowledge. Well, they both do in some respects. The other one is just a simple recall question. So it should be easy here to spot the differences. Another example I've got for you here is on men and mice. So one question here is asking for a bit more reference to details. Another one's asking for a simple recall again. So we've got lots inside the slides. And then I've also referenced, there's thousands of these. So I've just picked out 1 or 2 that have caught my eye, 1 or 2 familiar ones, and bits of software to consider if you want to generate your own. And of course, you've got a multiple choice generation on ChatGPT. So I'll do a quick demo off piece. QR code, scan this, you go straight to an audio introduction to my new book. You've also got a few other QR codes there. So scan those, pause this video, scan those too. And thanks for watching. I guess while we're talking about multiple choice questions, I've got a couple of blogs coming out this week and lots of resources. And let me just show you where to find this resource. So if you go to teachertoolkit.co.uk, press on resources, the latest resource here, guide to multiple choice questions, it's there to download. Lots of slide designs, templates, and a video inside. Or if you can't find it, search multiple choice there in the search bar. Now, I've been playing around with Playground OpenAI. So this is the phenomenon of Chat GPT. It's been around for, I believe, 8 years. I discovered it a couple of years ago, and the whole world's recently playing with Chat GTP. So if you've not seen this before, let's do a quick demo. So if I just type in here, in fact, I've got a prior one here. Let me just load this up just for speed. So you can see here, I've written a little bit of detail about desirable difficulties. I don't really need that. But I've made reference to the research that desirably difficult, the choices need to be harder to eliminate. So I've asked explicitly for the Chat GTP to design 2 multiple choice questions here on the wives of Henry VIII. And in the slides, this is what I've produced here as an example. So let me go back and edit this. I'm just going to take all this historical context out, and I'm leaving here. Could you design 2 multiple choice questions for teachers identifying the wives of Henry VIII? Obviously spelled that wrong, do apologize. Make one example have difficult choices to eliminate, and the other have really easy. So I can save and submit this. And if you've not seen this, in terms of workload, or at least creating a starting point, and as ever, there's the question of prior knowledge, my own historical knowledge. But you can see it generates something there. So this is a simple production, but I'll go back to here, this slide here. There's lots of these types of pieces of software that are generating these kind of quizzes for you. So I would encourage you to look in more detail at this slide in particular, with reference to lots of research. I'm going to have a blog out later this week to unpick this and give you some more hyperlinks to read. So just be cautious when you are generating or writing, that you check and follow the research. Other than that, thanks for watching. Any questions?